show you one more way. This is like the calculus way of doing it. Okay, I called it the calculus method, but it's not really calculus because there's a lot of things happening that I haven't taught you yet. But you can do it because I did it in high school and I still do it today. Here's the calculus method. You can use this if you like. This is something your book doesn't teach you. Take that book. Here's what you do. Okay, you take every single term in your fraction, so this term, this term, this term, this term, and divide it by the highest power of x. In this case, the highest power of x is just x to the 1. So you divide each of those terms that I circled by x, the highest power of x. Again, the reason why, can't explain, not yet, maybe later. But I'm kind of showing you a trick without much explanation that will help you find your horizontal asymptote. Okay, so I divide everything by x. Okay. From there, you do any cancellations that you can, right? So 4x over x, the x's will cancel, leaving you with just 4. And x over x will give you just 1. So go ahead and do those. 4 minus 5 over x over 1 minus 2 over x. The next thing we do is we do something called taking the limit of the function. And that maybe doesn't make any sense because it's something you haven't learned yet and probably won't learn until next year if you go to university. But you take the limit of this function, and basically what you do is you force x to become really, 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 really big. And then you analyze what happens to each individual term as x gets really, 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 really big. So, nothing will happen to the 4 if x gets really big, because it's just 4. This fraction, however, if you think about it, you take 5 and you divide it by something really, 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 really big. What will happen? It'll get like infinitesimal, however you say that word, really, 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 really tiny, right? You have 5 cakes and you divide it by 1 billion people. Nobody's really going to get any cake if you can even have a knife that cuts a slice that thin, right? If you have 5 people and 5 cakes and you share it among trillion people, they're going to get even less cake, right? So this term goes to 0 essentially. It becomes negligible as x gets really, really, really large. That's essentially what a limit does. Is it figures out what the expression equals as x goes on into a really large number. The 1, nothing happens to this guy here because it's not dependent on x. But this guy also goes to 0 because 2 divided by a really huge number is basically 0. Okay, so you're left with 4 over 1, which was 4, and we had that last time, last 2 times. Okay, I like this method because it's a little quicker than the other guys, unless you want to put in the big large number, right? Okay, same thing with b. We'll do the same thing. Okay, so we had 2x plus 2 over x minus 4. Using the sort of calculus method, what did I do? First thing. Divide everything by the highest power of x. In this case, it's x. If I had an x squared term in there, then I divide everything by x squared. Right? So divide everything by x. Do any cancellations that you can do. So these x's will cancel. And you get 2 plus 2 over x over 1 minus 4 over x. And as x gets really large, if I take the limit as x goes to infinity, what happens?
It goes to 0.
What goes to 0?
The 2 over x and 4 over x.
Yeah, this goes to 0, this goes to 0. You understand why?
That's the cake thing?
Pardon me?
That's the cake thing?
Yeah, that's the cake thing. You have 2 cakes and you divide it by 1 billion people. Pretty much nobody gets anything, right? Or 4 cakes, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? As x gets really large, those have eventually become negligible. So you end up with 2 over 1, so just 2. which was our horizontal asymptote again. Okay, so again, there's a lot happening here that I haven't taught you, right? You don't really know the formal way of knowing the limit or anything like that, and why do we divide by x, stuff like that. But maybe if we get time later on, I can teach you.